Today's Cosplay Con Talk episode is sponsored by Moco Queen Color Contacts. Don't forget to use my code Wayne for 10% off at checkout at mocoqueen.com. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Hmm.
I mean, I think we all can agree, though, like for us who are in the Pacific Northwest, when it comes to like Kamori Con or Rose City, the closer to the con, the more expensive the hotel. Or like for Dragon, if I'm not mistaken, Dragon Con, they have it at hotels. If I'm not mistaken, right, Flower?
Yes. So the convention is hosted in 5 hotels. They have the host hotels where everybody and their mom gets to stay at. They kind of give you a special deal because they know that you're going to be staying either all the days of Dragon Con or some days. And I know that they give you a better deal than, let's say, theoretically, you get to book outside of from the hotel, I guess is the best way to word it. But it's but each hotel has their own like little rule, which I don't know if you guys might have seen other people, other cosplayers going to Dragon Con where they're mentioning like, oh, it's Hunger Games for Dragon Cons and rooms and stuff like that. It's like a whole thing that I haven't had the nice experience of staying at the host hotels around Dragon Con. I have stayed in the surrounding area that's close at walking distance because me and my roommates, we got an Airbnb. There's a condo building that's like adjacent to the Hyatt Hotel that almost everybody, including myself, it's kind of like easier to get a condo and then like share it with your roommates and such. And it's convenient because again, it's a few steps away. You're like not having to get in like an Uber or anything like that, which was my experience the first time going to Dragon Con, which was like 2019. Like, I was trying to find hotel rooms, but evidently by the time I was looking, everything was booked.
Mm.
So the closest thing that I found was, shucks, what was it? It was like one of those 2-star, 3-star hotels, but it was a little bit far, like off site, maybe give or take 10 minutes. So that was like the first experience where it's like in my head, I'm like, oh, that's okay. And then, once I recruited some people to share the room, and it was their first time going too. So it's like we kind of like I knew one of them from New York Comic Con. Uh, but then the rest of us, we were just like all brand new to Dragon Con and everything else. So, like taking a whim to meeting these strangers. Now we're like all good friends. Uh, but yeah, that was an experience in itself because personally, I like to drink when I go to conventions. It's like when I
I
go to
Hell
mean,
conventions,
yeah. Yeah.
fun
uh,
time. Right.
I
That's like I
mean,
don't I don't normally drink throughout the year. I rarely do. But when it comes to con time, that's it. It's game over. That's why I would prefer to stay either at an Airbnb or at a hotel that's nearby, where I know if I'm going to be kind of buzzed or pretty drunk, I have walking distance. I don't have to think about driving, anything like that. But the unique experience there was that exactly right. So we had to kind of like take turns. If one of us was going to the room, we had to reach out to each other, like, hey, because evidently we had to get like an Uber or a Lyft that would take us to that hotel room. After that experience, the year after that, I booked an Airbnb and kind of like the rest of us and roommates, like each year, we've been kind of like doing our best to kind of book something close by. Once again, our biggest hurdle, like right now, is we're trying to swing getting a room at one of the host hotels. Unfortunately, it didn't happen this year, so we're gonna try to pull through for next year. But one of my roommates, shout out to Cameron, he was able to book us a hotel that's about 5 minute walking distance. Like anything that's like a 5 minute, 6 minute walking distance within the district, the hotel district in Atlanta, it's pretty good. Like you can't lose, right? There is a hotel that's exactly across the street from the Hyatt, and it's called like Indigo Hotel. There's like two or three that are just like hotels, not Airbnbs that book quickly, much like the host hotels. But yeah, it's hosted in 5 hotels. A lot of people will either stay, everybody wants to stay at the Hilton, including us. We're trying to make it there. But, the next day
I
it kind of
believe
goes
in
into
you.
these funny, like, right, right. Thank you, thank you. So hopefully 2025 will be ours.
yeah.
But it's the Hilton, the Marriott Astor. What is it? No, it's like the Marriott I like. Marriott first, the Hilton, then it'll be like the Hyatt. And I could be wrong, don't hold me to it though, but it's like somewhere along those lines. Definitely the Marriott is like number one where everybody wants to stay, and because it has like the way, if you guys seen photos of one of the hotels that looks like you're kind of like looking all the way up, that's the Marriott.
Don't they have
And
a sky bridge as well, if I'm not mistaken?
yes, there's like
Mhm.
3 sky bridges that connect to the Hyatt, the Marriott, and the Hilton. Because the Westin is another host hotel, but it's not interconnected to the other hotels.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
Sheraton, or I guess the Sheraton doesn't exist anymore. It's like some other name. The Sheraton is also part of the 5 hotels that's hosted. It's not interconnected, but it is within walking distance if you were to go to one of the hotels that it's interconnected as well. But generally, like almost everybody and their mom, and I'm part of their mom, that hangs around the 3 hotels and such.
I decided to call up on one of my other monitors here, the hotels on Dragon Con. I have the Hyatt Regency, the Hilton, Marriott Marquis, Portland
Yep.
Grand Hotel, formerly Sheraton, and
Yes,
the Westin Peachtree Plaza.
Yep.
Jeez,
Yeah.
The
that would
Westin is
just-
not, so the Westin and the Sheraton are the 2 hotels that are not interconnected. They are walking distance, but they're not interconnected like the
Jeez.
Hyatt, Marriott, and Hilton.
I mean, I've seen video of like Dragon Con over the years, and like I just can't imagine, because anytime there's like a big con going on, the con itself will work with the hotel to give discounts, saying, "Oh, hey, if you check in,
Yeah.
if you check into this hotel, then you don't have to pay this much for tickets, or if you're going to the
Mhm.
con and here's the thing, you give it to them, you get a discount." Uh,
Mhm.
ugh, it's a lot of.
That's the advantage, because through the convention days, they give you a discount at the hotel because they know that you're reserving to stay those days for Dragon Con exclusively. And like I said, it's a whole thing because when if I'm not mistaken, it's around earlier, like in, I think it's in like May or somewhere along those lines, where they start opening the blocks
Mhm.
for people to start doing their reservations for Dragon Con.
Oh, because they know that a
Like-
lot of people are gonna book right away too.
So that's why they call it the Hunger Games, because everybody knows the time, the date when it's going to start, and they're on their laptops, kind of like, Black Friday, or what is it, Cyber Monday?
Yeah.
Like you're sitting on your
Yeah.
laptop, as soon as that midnight hour hits, you're
the
like
gates,
trying to make
the
sure
gates open,
Everybody's
and
going, yeah.
it's like San Diego
everybody.
Comic Con. It's a lottery system, except it's a lottery system with hotels, because there are some people I know who will get like early access to book right away, and it's just like
It's like trying to get
fuck
tickets to a Taylor
that.
Swift concert.
Oh,
Pretty
God.
pretty
There we go.
much. Jesus.
But it gets
Oh.
crazy because everybody has like a system. I've come across people who have a system, who have their squad. They have like their friends that if like, let's say theoretically, me and my other 3 other roommates are like, I didn't get it, but they got booked.
Mhm.
Great, we're gonna pay them. It's like a whole thing.
Oh gosh.
It's almost like you're waiting for midnight New Year's, right? Like,
Oh,
how everybody's
God.
like ready, they're gonna count it. It's the same
Yeah.
story.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jesus.
Exactly. All right, everybody, laptops, credit cards,
Lock
booking.
in.
All right, done.
God.
I know, it's crazy.
Damn.
Literally, I always think when and there's like a lot of memes that drop that it's like, I think of the oh shucks, what's that movie called? The one with Mel Gibson and wasn't it Warrior? Oh,
Braveheart?
it's like the old, yes, Braveheart.
Okay.
Where he's
Oh,
like,
yes,
like
yes.
everybody's
Oh,
like
yeah.
ready to go. Yeah,
You
Yeah,
can
it's
take
that's
away
right.
our lives, but you can't take
Yeah.
away our visas.
Yes, literally.
exactly. It's very much like that. And then it's like, I think of
God.
that scene, like that one scene, everybody going crazy, trying to get their rooms ready and
And
together.
that definitely happens with the like big major cons too, I've noticed.
Well, absolutely.
Well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I get it. You don't want to have to walk for it. You don't have to travel. You don't have to, Oh God.
Yeah.
But then
And
like,
that's
but
one
then,
of the-
but then I know like checkout is a nightmare. He's
Yeah.
got like, I
Oh
remember,
my God,
remember,
yeah.
remember last day of KomoriCon, I mean, people were just getting ready to check out. Anyway.
Yeah, you're waiting for the elevator for like what, 15
Oh,
minutes?
yeah,
sometimes?
no, I don't want to.
Crazy.
Don't get me started on the
That's a whole
Hyatts.
other thing.
No, don't get me
That's
started on.
one
Don't get me
thing I've
started.
noticed.
Get started.
Oh,
I'm
go.
kidding.
That's one thing I've noticed about East Coast cons versus West Coast cons is a lot of the East Coast cons have hotels attached to their convention centers, whereas West Coast cons is not the case.
Nope.
Like
Hmm.
Dragon Con obviously it takes place in the hotels. Holiday Matsuri was like that too. They have the hotel attached to the convention center. AWA was like that. The hotel was attached it was in the hotel as well. Colossal Con takes place at a resort, and so the hotel is attached to the resort where the convention takes place. A lot of those East Coast cons have like hotels actually attached to whatever venue that they're having it at, versus on the West Coast, it's like individual little convention center plots here and there. So unless it's like a smaller con, it never there's never really a hotel that is attached to the event center.
That has to do
It's
with
like
the real
For
estate.
anything.
sure.
That has to
For
do with
sure.
real
And
estate
it's
issues
kind
on
of
the
like
East
that
versus West
in
Coast.
the Midwest too that I noticed.
Mhm.
Because I remember I was really nervous going there. I'm like, oh man, it's a short walk to the convention center, but I hope my makeup doesn't get messed up. But thankfully there was like sky bridges everywhere. And I found out
Mhm.
they were actually all over the city because that's a very common thing in Minnesota because it gets so cold. And I'm like, oh, that's so smart.
Mhm.
Yeah, part of it is too is the real estate issues between the East West Coast and West Coast. On the East Coast, you tend to be more crammed together, and
Yes.
so
Mhm.
you have the thought of keeping things together and keeping the hotels together and going across. Whereas here on the West Coast, we tend to be a little bit more spread out.
Mhm.
You look at the contrast between New York City, which tends to build up vertically, and Los Angeles, which tends to spread out horizontally.
Oh, absolutely.
Kat, to you now. What's traveling been like for you? What's it been like for lodgings for you for cons?
I have had both good and bad experiences. Um, Thankfully it's been mostly good. The only bad experiences I've had was like roommates. Um, I don't necessarily want to drag anybody, but I'll keep it short. There was one year I was rooming with someone who I used to be friends with, and she was in charge of the room and was just kind of a dictator and made it a nightmare. And I was kind of at the height of my spine problems at the time, so I was limping around. I was having a hard time. The guy that I was dating at the time would take me back to the room a lot so that I could sit down, I could take a break from my cosplay. Um, and one time we were both like napping on the bed together, and she freaked out and claimed that we were sleeping together in the hotel room, that we were having sex and ruining everyone's weekend when she had no proof of this, and there were other people in the room. But she just went ballistic on me, and called me a lot of not so kind names for the next couple days. So that was not a pleasant experience. And the only other time, is when I was staying in a big suite and I had told, oh yeah, it's just gonna be like 6 people, and then it was 8 people, and then I get there and there's like 12 people, and that was not a pleasant experience. Um, those are really the only two like really bad times that I've had. I've been very, very lucky that otherwise it's been smooth sailing. Um, but then again, I am a chronic planner. I plan way, way ahead. Whether that be booking like a backup hotel ahead of time if I can't get the con rate, because depending on the con, some cons will, as everyone's been saying, they'll offer her a specialty rate. But there are cons like Dragon Con, like Fanime, like San Diego Comic-Con, where it's kind of a Hunger Games and it's really hard to get a room, or sometimes, you have to go through this system and kind of play the game. Um, and I've gone through that before and it's stressful. Oh my God. But you know, if the odds are in your favor, then you definitely luck out. I know I've definitely come up with a system with some buddies, And we were all like texting each other like right as things were about to drop. And I'm like, I'm gonna try my best, you guys. How about you? Okay, me too. Let's go. But yeah, I'm chronic on planning ahead and budgeting for things. Um, and like Console said, it's important to figure out what do I absolutely need? What am I willing to sacrifice? Um, for me, I like somewhere that is a good value. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, this is the cheapest option. It has to be the best value for me. Um, so usually kind of what I look for is what is closest to the hotel, what is a reasonable price, what is not run down. I have stayed further away from the hotel, and I think that that's fine. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad experience, but you definitely have to look into, okay, how am I going to get to the con? Is there public transit I can take? Is the con offering a shuttle? Do I need to Uber? And just kind of work that into your budget if you're staying further away, because that definitely is, it's a downside, but it's a workable
Oh,
downside. depending-
it's worth it though because you're saving the money. Yeah, it sucks that you can't get the hotel you want, but
Absolutely, absolutely. I know there was one con that I stayed at. It was like a 1 day con, but it was kind of far from me and all my homies. So we're like, yeah, we're just gonna get a hotel. And it was like maybe 10, 15 minute drive. There was some traffic, but it wasn't too bad, and it was a very pleasant experience. Um, but I definitely like to stay somewhere that is comfortable and nearby. I don't know. I think it's kind of hard because I have spine issues and I have adult money. So I'm like, yeah, I'll shell out a little more for somewhere that's, nice and has comfy beds. But that's just me. Everybody's going to be different. Everybody's needs are different. But I cannot stress enough to work things into your budget, to plan ahead and think about not only your logistics, but if you're staying with other people, what are their logistics? So, for example, let's say you get an Airbnb, right? Sounds great. Everybody's excited. Okay, well, what time is check-in? What are the rules of the Airbnb? Is there going to be one key or is there going to be multiple keys? And
or
if
the
so,
codes
who is
too.
going to
Don't
hold
forget
the
the
key? Like,
don't forget the key
there's
codes.
yes, there's a lot of moving parts. And again, you got to decide what you're willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with.
Mhm.
I'm a big proponent of trying to stay at the hotel that's connected to the con or either connected to the con or has the con rate. But I know that that's not accessible for everyone, so it's definitely worth checking out your options and looking ahead of time. Because sometimes, I'm gonna let you all in on a secret. Sometimes the con rate is not the best rate.
Mm-mm.
No, no cons. I said that though. Because I've
None of
gone
you
and
heard
I've
or
booked
saw that.
No, I've gone and I've booked hotels ahead of time before, and I actually got a better deal. Um, that's not always the case though. If you're really, really worried, book a backup hotel, and you don't necessarily have to like shell out money for it. Just look at one of those, like get a deal where it's like, oh yeah, I pay when I get there, and I just have to cancel by X date. So as long as you're on top of that, it's a good safety measure to have if you think that you can't get the hotel.
Oh no,
But yeah, just be smart.
That's kind of what I do is book the hotel or Airbnb as soon as I know the dates and that I am definitely going. I doing that through booking.com with in at the convention center. I actually get
Oh, I
Yes.
love booking.
I actually get a lower rate than the con block rates
and if
at the other
you're
hotels.
Yes,
I
yes.
was about to
Booking and
say,
Expedia are
book-
my go-tos.
Also, if you have AAA, a lot of hotels offer a AAA discount, which
Mhm.
I have utilized
Yep.
quite
Oh,
a
same
bit.
here. It's awesome.
AARP also.
I go through booking.com and I have Genius Rewards members will all say, this is
Ditto.
what the price was originally, but this is your discount price. You book this now, you'll have to pay this.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I
also,
find
if you tend to stay at like chain hotels or if that's like the norm, if they have a rewards program, sign up for that. Because then that's going to build over time, right? And then eventually, before you know it, you're going to end up being able to stay for free for a night of your con. And that's going to save you and your homies so much money.
Oh yeah, no, if you become
Mhm,
if you become a rewards member for a hotel, you stay there X amount of times, or you're a rewards member through Booking.com. And I think we can all agree here that discount being like ARP or AAA or Booking.com, any type of discount you get for that hotel is always a good thing. Or if you work for a hotel, you
Oh,
get the friends and
absolutely.
family discount.
Yes, yes. I've worked for hotels before. It is a great perk to have.
I haven't yet
Um,
tried the trade-in points at Booking, but I have traded in points at Amtrak and got to go to SummerCon for zero.
yeah, it's definitely worth having.
Amtrak rewards card points.
You were about to say, Consul?
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, I used to work at a hotel, and my sister was a hotel manager for many, many, many years, and like worked in hospitality. Like that's what she went to school for. A lot of the times, if you are not booking at a chain hotel and you call the hotel that you do want to book at, most of the times they'll price match. They'll price match whatever you find online.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of just booking online, for like through Expedia and Booking, because a lot of the times, having worked with Expedia and Booking, but like on the back end, like actually at the hotel, third parties reservations are kind of a pain in the butt, as far
Yes.
as like trying to get cancellations or any sort of partial refunds or anything if you do have an issue at your stay at the hotel, because it is through a third party. A lot of times the hotel will say, well, we can't really do too much because it's a third party reservation. So that is my only, I guess, be wary of type of thing as far as booking like third party with Booking.com or like Expedia or something like that. Like with hotels that aren't chain hotels, it's a lot more difficult to get any sort of refund, your money back, or even do like a cancellation day of, night of, changing dates. Those sorts of things are really difficult to do with a third party reservation if you're not booking a chain hotel.
Oh yeah. No,
But yeah, if you're not booking a chain hotel, usually they'll do some form of price match. Also, another thing like about hotels, there's a difference between like a Google star rating and a hotel star rating. So like a Google
Yes.
star rating is based off of obviously like customer reviews. An actual hotel star rating is just about how many amenities they have. So whether that be
Oh,
breakfast, pool, gym, those types of things. So you can stay at like a very, very, very high-end hotel, but it's only like 3 stars, but that's only because they have 3 amenities. So don't take the star rating to be like the quality of the hotel. That's just how many amenities that they offer versus like the actual Google review stars or the Yelp review stars. So just keep that in mind.
Or
So
Booking.com
don't,
reviews.
Yes.
yeah, so don't expect you to go to a hotel that's like got raving reviews on Google, and then you show up and there's no like free breakfast or there's no gym or something, and then you find out later that that hotel was only a 4-star hotel, even though it was super, super high end, but that is just because it was missing one of those major amenities.
Always check on the amenities that you want to have or need to have. I always
For
check.
sure.
Wait, who said what now?
I was letting
Yeah.
somebody else. I think a
Oh.
cat.
Or was it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was agreeing with you.
Yeah, I always check for for if the hotels has Wi-Fi, if there's a dedicated working area and desk. Those are must-haves for me. And of course, heating and air conditioning is very important.
Absolutely.
I always don't.
I have had the unfortunate thing happen because it's okay. Don't assume that every hotel has free Wi-Fi. Check ahead of time. I have done that before. I got to a hotel with the friends and we're like, oh my God, this place is so nice. What's the Wi-Fi password? And we looked and it was like $10 a day. And it was, it was not worth it. So we all got a little bamboozled.
Yeah, you got
we-
you got the hotel Wi-Fi, and then you got the members Wi-Fi, which is better.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So one of us just quickly signed up to be a member and we're like, yeah, I'm totally a member. Give us free Wi-Fi. So we were a little sneaky. We did that, but it was definitely a bit of a snafu. So either double check that your hotel actually has free Wi-Fi, or if you're worried, look into a membership. 9 times out of 10, it's free or very, very cheap. So I think that's definitely something worth having.
Oh,
And
I
we'll give
agree.
one warning on that general topic. I've stayed at 3 different Motel 6 facilities, and the Wi-Fi is about as stable as the Fukushima nuclear power plant.
Ooh.
Oh no.
I
Oh,
thought you were about to say Chernobyl. I mean, both are unstable. I'm not.
I was
making- I'm
worried it was
not-
going to be a 9/11 joke.
I
Oh,
was
God.
humored by this comparison, but I felt that. I felt what Kat was saying, Kat Valentine, that the whole Wi-Fi thing, if you don't pay attention, because that was my first experience going for the first time to Holiday Matsuri. Me and my best friend, like, yeah, we're gonna totally like go. It was great, and it was everything. We're trying to get into the Wi-Fi, and we're like trying to figure it out until she found out. And it's like, yeah, I mean, because it's a resort, they're charging for the Wi-Fi, and I'm like, ugh, that's so
It's either $10 or $20, which is like
yeah,
I forked out a lot of
How
money. Now I have to
much?
fork out extra money for this. That
exactly. I'm like,
Exactly.
dang,
I mean, I'll
at
stay
least
here. I'll stay here, but I'm gonna complain the whole time.
Literally.
Jeez. Now the last thing is before everyone drops their pluggables and links, just advice in general for traveling for cons. Starting with Bob, what's your just advice in general when it comes to traveling for cons?
Well, I think part of it is what Kat said about planning it ahead. I just mentioned book as early as you can, because usually when you book way out ahead, A, things are more available. B, things tend to be cheaper. There is such a thing as booking too far out ahead before the things have actually opened up and are available at all. So if it's not available, just keep checking back. I've been doing that with one of my transportation options for something I want to do next year. But get your admissions tickets first early because it's cheaper. If you're flying, get your flights early because it's cheaper. Your hotels, those don't tend to waiver as much, but they can waiver in each direction at any time. I have noticed. So, but you still want to get that early before it fills up, especially if it's a very, 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 very popular convention. It has anything which doesn't have to be Dragon Con. Rose City does tend to fill up as things get closer. Amtrak, you want to book before it fills up too much, because those can fill up. I've had that issue once or twice. Thankfully, not for a convention. But book early. Pack as well as you can. Make sure you remember and are cognizant of the luggage rules if you're going by bus or Amtrak or airplane. Those three have three different rules, three different sets of rules, and you can do stuff on one that you can't do on the others. And just be aware of what you are and are not allowed to bring with you. Know how to pack efficiently. I think it was Consul who picked out the vacuum bags for the for your stuff. Rolling your clothes, short of that, rolling your clothes is indeed more effective than folding. It seems counterintuitive, but it is true. I can attest to it, and I've seen it tested scientifically. Bring along your emergency repair kit with anything that you would need in case something rips or tears or comes undone or breaks off. I have my antennae on my helmet for the Evil Midnight Bomber, what bombs at midnight. And there was one convention where one or the other of them came off 5 to 7 times over the course of the day. And so, and that's without coming off while in packing either. But so always keep, your glue, your safety pins, handheld sewing machine. And you can also, if there's a cosplay repair service, know where that is. Be mindful of the distance that you are from the venue in relation to your footwear. You don't want to wear uncomfortable footwear and then have to walk a half mile to your hotel. I'm a non-driver, so I'm extra conscious of that. And that is just about all that I can think of that hasn't already been mentioned.
Some really sound advice on that.
Mhm.
Belle, same question, just advice in general for those who are wanting to travel for a con.
Um, something I haven't heard really brought up a whole lot is if you can bring your own food. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I love hitting up the dollar store and getting just like a pack of like granola bars, cup ramen, especially if you're staying in a hotel room. You Whether or not you'll have a refrigerator tends to be pretty dicey, but typically you'll have a coffee maker, so anything you can make using just hot water. Bring just like a pack of plastic cutlery. Like I bought a giant one from I think Walmart about a year ago. And I just bring it to cons, and I still haven't gone through it all the way. Um, I think it also, especially if you have any kind of like medical issues, uh, be cognizant of like where where the closest like pharmacy or urgent care is. I haven't had any emergencies happen, but like sometimes, listen, sometimes you do the dumb thing and you walk on heels for 6 hours at the con, and maybe you have to have your friend go run to the pharmacy and get you like stuff from blisters. Speaking from personal experience, you just want to know where those things are. But yeah, that's my general travel advice that hasn't been given so far.
I don't know, that's some general good advice is definitely bring food because let's face it, con food can be expensive. There are sometimes you just don't want to go out to eat, so it's best to bring your own food. A thing me and my sister have when we travel for con, especially if we're having to leave early in the morning to get to somewhere that's like hours away of driving distance, we'll stop by and get coffee first and go to a gas station and get chips and donuts and everything.
I
I'm
love
just
it.
I'm just saying if you're having to because I'm sure we all can agree there are times where we had to like leave early in the morning to go to a con that's out of state or hours away, and we need like some type of caffeine, especially if like especially for the person who's driving, or if you're
Oh,
gonna take or if you're gonna
yes.
take turns driving a car.
Mhm.
Always caffeinate your driver and
Mhm.
Yes.
feed them basically whatever they want they get. As a professional passenger princess, you get whatever you want if you drive me somewhere.
Yes.
You don't want them to get angry and just be like, you know,
Yeah.
Like
You wouldn't
literally,
like
your
me
life is
when
in the
I'm
driver's hands. If you're
angry.
being too rude, they can just
or
crash the car or kick you out on the side of the highway.
or you
So treat
know,
them nice.
oh yeah, no, or to quote Chris Farley from Billy Madison, everybody on? Good, great, grand. No, you're the boss. Uh,
Yes.
that's like before you have coffee. If you're
Literally
driving
though.
your friends. Console, same question. Just advice in general for those who wanted to travel for a con.
Yeah, research the weather, the humidity, and the terrain is, I think, really what it is. Because again, I've had those moments where I've booked a hotel and I'm like, oh, it's only like a 10-minute walk. That's not bad at all. And then it's like a 10-minute walk straight uphill, and that's not good either.
Mm-mm.
But like, so just those are kind of the three things, at least when I'm traveling, just kind of, especially out of state. Um, what I like to kind of research a little bit, and I'll just repeat it again. It's not worth going broke to go to a convention.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah, that's That's pretty much it that I guess hasn't already been said.
Like when you're a kid, that's one thing because you're not the one paying to go to the convention. But when you're an adult, it's like
Mhm.
if you're not one of if like, I mean, like special cosplayer guests and everything, I get how they can go to these conventions because the convention pays for them to go or they get them for free. But if you're like not like that, then it's like, okay, well, maybe I don't need to go to a convention every month or every week or all throughout the year. Like if you can go to just like if you're able to go like 1, 2, or 3, that's great. But you also got to realize you're an adult. You have a job. You need money for your rent, bills, food, to keep a roof over your head if you're living on your own.
Hmm.
Like I
Mhm.
wish I can like go to a bunch of cons, but it's like I'll just pick what con I know I can go to and afford, and there I'm happy for like the year.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
the best
C3
spot.
GameCon costs like $18 to go both days, and I can stay in my own bed, and the bus system here is fairless. So
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
like and see that's the best thing about if you have a con local in your area, you're saving on travel. The only thing you have to worry about is
Parking,
get
maybe?
wait, what?
Parking,
Oh well,
saying
yeah,
parking.
oh yeah, park. Yeah, if you're wanting to drive, yeah, no, because not everyone always wants to walk to a con if they live nearby. Flower, same question. Advice for just any in general for anyone who's wanted to travel for a con for the first time, or if they're wanting to travel out of state for a con.
Definitely piggybacking what everybody said. Research is your big ingredient. I don't go broke for cons. I have unfortunately experienced that more or less like the excitement overwhelming. I'm like, I got some money here. I might be overdraft, but it's okay. But after that, try to find friends, like even close friends, or even if you don't, but find like mutuals, because that's how I kind of got to meet the friends that I have now. We were slightly mutuals on Instagram. I kind of threw out there, I need some roommates, and then it kind of became a thing, and then here we are. And now it's like I have other people that I meet with. Like I meet with the same person, but like 2 or 3 other people are kind of new, mutual to my other roommate.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like one of those things that you definitely want to keep it in your circle because, of course, if you do a random stranger, it is a bit of a risk. You're not sure who
Mhm.
you're going to come across. Um, but yeah, like enjoy it, be mindful of the budget. And if you do want to travel to a con that's like, in my case, I would like to pick a year and make it a goal to where I can go to San Diego Comic Con and probably Emerald City Comic Con because I've
Ooh.
heard like great about that con. Um, but it would be definitely because it's a budget. It's like for me at least, it's a big budget because I'm going all the way to the opposite side of the U.S. I would have to like pick a year, make a goal, and work towards it, right? So, definitely that if you really want to, I tell a lot of people when I come across in New York City, when I go to New York Comic Con, and they're like, oh, I really want to go, but it's like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, I get it. Like, going from New York to the South is even you're still in East Side, but you're still making a big investment to go to a whole different state, someplace that you're not familiar to, and everything else. And it's kind of like you definitely need to sort of keep those little factors in mind of doing research, finding your hotel, finding the people that are familiar, and everything else, so that way you're not like left in limbo.
Oh,
So I encourage that. Yeah,
oh,
reach out to your.
For Emerald City, if you stay at a hotel, the one I recommend is the Hotel Theodore.
I've heard
Okay,
great things about that
okay,
hotel.
mhm.
So it's
food
like
for
around the
thought.
corner, and it's
Thank you.
the least expensive within a 3-block radius. So
Gotcha.
A
Pro
little thing,
tip.
I want to piggyback off of what Consul said about checking for weather. I'm not going to say the name of the con, but I know that if the weather's really bad, like rain, sleet, snow, icy roads, I get it. You want to travel to the con, you want to drive to the con, but it's not worth the potential get into a car accident because I heard about a certain con here in the Pacific Northwest where people were traveling to the con in icy roads or walking to the con. It was freezing cold. Trains had to be stopped.
Yep. Mhm.
I think you
Mhm.
guys know what con I'm talking
Mhm.
yeah,
about.
Mhm.
But yeah, there
yeah.
was
Yeah.
for you're not from your flower. There was a con here in this general Pacific Northwest area. I'm not going to say the name, that the roads were really, really, really bad and icy,
Basically, an ice storm happened that weekend.
and
Mhm.
the con was still going on, and people were
Oh,
people were traveling to the con. Some people were blaming the con, saying that you got me in a wreck, you couldn't get me to this, you couldn't get me to that. And there were some people that were like, roads were blocked off, there was no flights in or out, and people almost got in car accidents because how icy the roads were.
Mhm.
I think One Eyed and Bell, Cat, and Constant know what con I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was all
Yeah.
over on their Instagram. It was all over
Yeah.
their
I'm
Instagram page.
honestly curious, but you're welcome to DM me that. I kind of followed you guys throughout, but yeah, but yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, not to trying to like, crap pants on the ones that are like blaming the con, but logic would slightly
No,
tell
crap on
you.
him.
I felt bad for the. Oh yeah, Bob just messaged in a thing, but I
Oh,
felt
okay.
I
Not
felt
us spilling tea.
I felt bad. I felt bad for the artists because they couldn't go back to grab their stuff because of how bad the roads were.
It was
Like,
bad,
but
bad.
Yeah.
I get just whatever the weather is, whether it's really hot, really rainy, or snow, be mindful and think, yeah, you spent all this money, but at the same time, is it really worth potentially getting in an accident or having your flight canceled? Because the next thing you know, you're stuck, you're not a hotel, and there may not be a chance you can stay at a friend's place. So I highly recommend doing your research on weather wise too.
Mhm.
And that also includes the extreme heat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
that
I'm looking
I ended up
directly at you, Anime Expo.
at actually at SummerCon. I had to cancel
At that con, I'm
my
sorry.
I had to cancel my first day's cosplay at SummerCon because it was just going to be too hot to wear it.
Yeah, no, and you don't want the potential chance of hypothermia or a heat stroke. Like I get it,
I'm highly prone to dehydration, and I did get some of that day.
Yeah, no,
I was fine the other 2 days, but
like
that day.
Even if you're wearing like a regular, like a breezy cosplay on a hot day, there's still that chance that you're driving, you get to the con, you walk out, and it's just like it's like the deserts of Tatooine.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're either gonna deal
Yeah.
with Hoth, you're either gonna deal with Tatooine, or you're just again, just be careful. That's all I have to say when traveling for a convention, whether it's in your state, a different state, across the country. Please be careful in traveling. That's all I have to say. It's like,
for sure.
even if you know the area really well, still be careful.
Absolutely.
That-
I
that-
think
that's my
another
advice.
thing to keep in mind is check if you're on any meds, if they make you temperature sensitive, that's another thing to keep in mind. Like SSRIs, not every SSRI, but some SSRIs are known for lowering your heat tolerance. So if you're going somewhere that is warm, that's something to definitely keep in mind. Have a water bottle on you.
So just in general, have a water bottle on you.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Drink water while you're in cosplay, please. I know too many people who are like, but I don't want to get out of it to use the bathroom. I'd rather you have to ask someone to help you use the bathroom than collapse from dehydration.
Or a heat
Please.
stroke or something, or hypothermia. No, definitely.
yeah.
It's
Normally,
just-
what I'll do is like I'll take little sips of water. That
Mhm.
way, I avoid going to the bathroom, but at least like, kind of like a boxer that stays in the corner, takes a swig of water and then spits it out, kind of to hydrate. Yeah, that's sort of like what I do.
because even Georgia weather can get pretty hot. I don't know what the weather's like when I don't know what the weather's like when Dragon Con's going on. I don't
It's
know.
hot. I'm not
It's
gonna
hot.
deny it. I'm
It's
not
late
gonna
summer.
Isn't
say
it like a humid heat too?
Yeah.
Oh.
it's a humid heat. So I have encountered, thankfully, knocking on wood, I haven't come across any like, just the typical I'm wearing a cosplay, I'm feeling hot, but not, anything dangerous, thankfully. Again, if you are any sort of, health issue or you taking medications, I don't encourage I encourage you, yes, go to Dragon Con if the budget allows it. However, if you're learning about the weather and how everything goes, I'm gonna easily say it's humid, it does get pretty hot. The good thing is that when you do go to the 3 hotels, at least that are interconnected, it doesn't feel as bad. on the sky bridge, it does, because there's evidently like not much air, but the sky bridge is not that long, so it doesn't feel too bad when you make it to the other lobbies. So you're like okay, but still don't fall short of necessarily trusting that. You be safe. Be mindful of taking what you need to take. Always have your water with you. Despite the fact that I like to drink, I do have my water with me.
Mhm.
But it's important to keep that in mind. Yeah, like even the first time I went to the Dragon Con parade, I was wearing Bombshell Captain Marvel, and
Really
it's
well
like
done
this
cosplay, by the
jacket.
way.
Oh, thank you. And it's a great cosplay, and I kind of like it. It's pretty comfortable. But to kind of keep the whole ensemble, I was wearing this jacket, but I was outside with the parade, and I kept on like fanning myself. It was kind of funny, but it's still like a little tedious to kind of like encounter those little things. So I would easily say just be very mindful, as Consul said, check out the weather, because regardless, you can be in dry heat and it's still going to be uncomfortable, and you can be in humid heat and it's still going to be just as uncomfortable. So mind your temperature. With that, get the comfortable cosplay if you have to, and if you're going for the first time, I would easily say try your best to either bring a very simple, comfortable, what's the other word? Oh no, casual cosplay, or just don't come in I know it's hard to say this as a cosplayer, but don't come in cosplay the first time you're going to an out-of-state con. And I say that if you're trying to experience what the weather is like during that time frame, so that way you can see for yourself if you're going to go again.
Oh yeah, you mean
On a related point, when I went to SummerCon this year, the forecast for Friday actually went up by about 8 degrees between when I left Corvallis and when I arrived in Puyallup.
Ugh,
Ugh.
That was a
Wow.
huge difference.
Big
ugh.
ouch.
I mean, you may be acclimated to your state's or town's weather, but when you're going to a different state, it's gonna be different. Like I get it. You want to go, you really want to go, but like please be careful. I can't stress that enough when it comes to traveling from what I've heard and seen on Instagram and Facebook. I'm not bashing any con. I'm not bashing anyone who goes to the con or blames the con for making them go. Just be careful, please. And if you know that it may be dangerous, you should listen to that little voice in your head. And like, I get it. You spent the money and all, but like, just please be careful. If you plan on going either way, just please be careful. Kat, last few advice in general for those who are wanting to travel to a con, whether it's out of town or out of state.
I am a big fan of traveling out of state or out of town or out of wherever, out of the country if you want to. I think
Off
it
the
is worth
planet.
doing it. I think it's worth doing it at least once just for the experience. But I think there's a couple things that you absolutely just gotta have on your person. The first one being a power bank to charge your phone in case of
I still need
emergencies.
to. I still need to do that.
Yes, get your power bank, Wayne.
Gosh,
God.
Mom, you don't need to patronize me.
I'm gonna patronize you.
Everyone, go tell Wayne to buy a power bank.
Everybody go Billy Wayne.
I need one, especially when I go up to Rose City next year.
Who wants to start a
Yes,
GoFundMe
it's
for
totally
Wayne's
worth
power
it.
bank?
I absolutely love mine. And you can use them wherever. Another thing that I think is super, super important is to have a proper toiletry bag. If you can get one of those that's hanging, those are awesome. I use them not only for cons, but I travel for work, so I use that when I travel. I think it's really important to have a good suitcase too. I've had cheap suitcases my whole life, and I recently upgraded to like some really, really nice ones that are like the hard top. Oh my God, I can't go back. I think they're awesome. And you don't need to get one of those, but I would definitely invest in quality, especially if you're taking the train or if you're flying. Definitely plan how you pack. As everybody has said, I'm just gonna echo it. Plan ahead of time. If you fly by the seat of your pants, you're gonna have a bad time. Gosh, what else? What else? Also look at the prices of food and of groceries where you're going, because the price of just a modest meal in Texas is going to be way different than New York.
Good old inflation.
Yeah, thanks inflation, thanks capitalism. This is just so
Yeah.
fun.
No one
Um,
ever.
yeah,
Hmm.
so definitely check all of that out so that you don't deal with any sticker shock when you go. Make sure if you're traveling, if you're rooming with people, that you get along somewhat. Like even if you haven't met them, talk with them a fair amount ahead of time. If the vibes are off, then the vibes are off, and it's worth figuring out a different rooming situation. Like I just can't stress enough to play it smart because I've definitely dodged some bullets before. Um, and also if you're traveling the day before or if you're traveling ahead of time, I cannot stress enough to wear something comfortable. Whether that be comfy shoes, whether that be a comfortable pair of pants or jacket, just plan ahead of time. Also, if you're going somewhere where it's really sunny, I am begging you to wear sunscreen, not only like just for your safety so you don't get burned, so you don't risk getting cancer. It's gonna keep you from aging really terribly, so I definitely recommend that. Um, but yeah, just be smart and be safe and have a fun time and share all your pictures because I want to see them. I want to see you having fun. Let me live vicariously through you.
No, I completely agree on that. And like you were saying, Kat, about checking prices for food, it may, like for especially for chain restaurants, like, yeah, where you live may be this price, but you go over here and it's gonna be a lot more. That's why I agree on sometimes bringing your own food. Or if you don't want to go out, DoorDash or, Grubhub or something,
Hmm.
Absolutely. And
Uber Eats.
for
And
sure.
just
And like one thing you can do to kind of budget ahead of time if you think that you don't necessarily want to go out, but you still want to like kind of experience the area, maybe look into like some DoorDash gift cards or some Uber Eats gift cards, and then you can kind of coast on those throughout your time. And you get a really yummy meal and you just get to chill out in your hotel room and you get to eat, I don't know, pad thai while you watch stuff on your TV.
Jeez, pad thai and anime. That sounds good.
I want that now. Oh my God.
Oh man.
You did this to yourself.
Oh jeez.
Yes.
So last but not least, just like at the end of these, I'm gonna have everyone drop their links so everyone knows where to follow them in case they want to stay up to date with their cosplays or wherever they're going for their next convention. Starting with you, Bob, because I know you now have your official one-eyed cosplay Instagram too.
yes, I
Yeah.
do, but you can find a lot of links for all sorts of stuff at my link tree. Which is Linktree One Eyed Cosplay. I have to put my One Eyed Cosplay Instagram on there yet, but there's all sorts of things, including links to my Spoonflower shop, where I have a lot of cosplay related patterns that you can get.
Ooh, nice. Enchanted Bell, where can people find you on social media if they want to stay up to date with your cosplays or your next con adventure?
I'm primarily on Instagram as Enchanted Bell Cosplays. It's Bell with 2 L's. I've had people make that mistake. I'm also on TikTok, but I don't really post anything on there. Unless you like Taylor Swift. Then I will get all of the TikTok feeds for Taylor Swift. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
And Console, I know you said it many times when you come on here, but where can for those who are new here, where can people find you on social media if they want to stay up to date with your cosplays or next con adventure?
I am Console of Cosplay. That's consul.of.cosplay on pretty much every social media platform. Although Instagram is my main squeeze, that is where you will get the most updated stuff is on Instagram. And my DMs are always open. And I have just one little thing to add to the advice column that I
Oh
totally
yeah,
forgot.
go ahead.
Um, in regards to my ADA folks, please research the ADA accessibility of each convention as well.
Yes.
I
Yes.
work personally with a lot of people who are in wheelchairs. That is my primary job, is I am a caregiver for people in wheelchairs. So ADA accessibility is a huge thing when it comes to conventions that a lot of conventions lack. Is ADA accessibility. Although there are certain ADA guidelines that a lot of conventions have to follow, not all of them are very good at following those convention guidelines. And
There's a
for
FacraCon.
oh, and
Oh.
for
I'm sorry, I'm causing problems.
and for my fellow folks in my little ADA friends in wheelchairs that may not have, depending on their condition, may not have feeling in their lower half, there is this thing called dysreflexia, which is a very serious thing that can happen with extreme weather changes. So just be wary of that. If you are in a wheelchair, and just research ADA at the convention, ask people who have gone to the convention, whatever you can do, because I don't want you to have a bad time just because the convention says they were ADA friendly, but they actually weren't. So anyway, that's it. That's my soapbox. I will step off of now.
Almost forgot. Everybody,
Soapbox to be on.
remember, please pack for an extra day just in case something goes south. That has affected me on 2 convention occasions.
That's why I always check out the day after con, because I can't do that thing where people like get done with the con and immediately go home. It's like, I need sleep and hours, and I don't want to be Bruce. I don't want to go from Bruce Banner to Hulk. I just want to like get that extra day of sleep and then travel earlier in the
It's
morning.
so worth it.
I
It's
go
so
the-
worth it. It's a little more money, but it's so worth it.
It's
I
worth
arrive
it.
the day before, I leave the day after,
Mhm.
and I pack in case I have to stay one more day just in case something goes screwy with my transportation to the train station.
No. Oh no, I agree on arriving a day or two before the con. Flower, where can people find you on the social media if they want to stay up to date with your cosplays and your next con adventure?
I am predominantly active on Instagram. I do have other socials, but they're mostly collecting dust. So Instagram is definitely your go-to for crap posting on stories, staying updated on whatever fitness nonsense I get into, and my cosplays when I'm about to go to a con. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. I'm predominantly on Instagram. So, stay safe, drink your water, reach out. My life hack with going to conventions is exactly that. Buying food outside, snacks if I have to. The hotel that we've been staying to lately has a kitchen, so I get to cook a bit.
Oh, I love hotels that have kitchens.
They are
Yeah,
the best.
so I know. And so that and drinking. When it comes to drinking alcohol, I make my own cocktails. I carry a big bottle, and here's a recent new one that I just bought for Dragon Con. A bottle like this that's over
Ooh,
20
that's so
ounces,
cute.
and I'm gonna carry it around with my with my lovely share of spirits.
Shaken, not
Yes,
stirred.
well, and that's a smart way to like keep your drink safe and like not get roofied.
Exactly, that part too,
Mhm.
because everybody and their mom gets excited into wanting to buy drinks from the bars and everything else. But like you just want to play it safe. You want to have a great experience, but you also want to be mindful of, because you never know. Like even if the nicest person next to you, I mean, every time I think of the nicest person when I say it out loud, I'm not trying to be like creepy or scary or anything. Like I think of Ted Bundy. Like everybody and their mom was
Yes,
like, "Oh my God, Ted Bundy's a great guy,"
exactly.
until
First
they
time,
like find out that he
Exactly.
was
Like
like
people getting
this
drugged at
atrocious
conventions is on the
person.
rise, so please be careful.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
please, no, yes. Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Oh no.
It's
But
fine.
yes, be very mindful of that if you're going to bars. There is I did forget to mention that because I do like to drink, but there's like this little cover on your cup. I don't know if any of you guys seen it.
Oh
I've seen it.
yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's like you buy your drink, you get your drink, you have your straw, and this little
I
cup
think it's
cover.
called a nightcap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
And then
seen
you
I've seen
put it
those.
on your cup, and then you hold on to your drink. So therefore, it's like nothing can happen to you, nothing can be tampered or anything like that. Because in a tenth of a second, something could be in there. So
Mhm.
that.
That's some sound advice, honestly.
Yeah,
Especially
definitely.
if you're, I mean, I count that as traveling, especially if you're wanting to, the night before con, you want to go out bar hopping or clubbing with your friends before the con.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I get that, because there are sometimes when you're done traveling, you want to go out to eat or you want to go out to drink because you've been in the car or playing for hours on end, and it's like you want to unwind. So I get that. I get wanting to unwind after traveling for a long time to a con. That's what I want to do when I travel to a con. Kat, where can people find you on social medias if they want to stay up to date or with your cosplays and our next con adventure?
Absolutely. I do have a couple more tips, but I will share my socials really quick and then I will gab. So you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads. I am the most active on Instagram. But I like to dabble a little bit of everything. So yeah, go check me out. I post a lot of really silly stuff and sometimes you see my cat. And she's pretty cool, so I think it's worth checking her out at least. Um, so for my tips, I'm gonna save the most serious one for last. But my first one is if you have pets or if you have kids, and you're not taking them to the con, I'm assuming you're not for some reason. Make sure that you have some sort of care arranged for them. Make sure that you have their doctor or vet set up with whoever's caring for them, whether that be family, whether you hire someone professionally. Just really play it safe. Because you don't want to come home and your kid is sick because they ate something and you weren't there to stop it, or your pet jumped off something and they broke their leg. Like it's just better to have somebody keep an eye on them. Whether that's family, whether that's a professional, just please be safe. Make sure that they're taken care of. They want you to have a good time just as much as you want to have a good time. And also my more serious tip. So recently at San Diego Comic-Con, a bunch of people got arrested for human trafficking.
I think it was about what, 14 people?
This is not an
Yeah.
uncommon occurrence. And people think, oh, well, it could never happen to me. Yes, it can happen to you, no
Bullshit.
matter what you look like, no matter what your gender is. Please, please, please be safe. And as Flower was saying, there's unfortunately a lot of Ted Bundy types out there. And I don't want to scare anyone or dissuade anyone from going to cons, but just please be safe. It is a lot more common than you think.
Mhm.
And don't go back to anybody's hotel room, even if you've been hanging out all day. You don't know what the
Find
situation could be.
Oh no, I
I am
agree.
begging you to be safe.
Because when
I
you go to a
don't want I want this to stop happening, I don't want anyone else to be affected by this. So please play it safe. We want everyone to come home.
No,
Mhm.
I agree, because when you're going to a con if you're not going to a con, I recommend if you're traveling for a con, go with friends, because if you're going by yourself, you don't know anyone. You may know them through social medias, but that's through social media. You don't know them in person. I'm not, like you
Yes,
said,
and
not
their
trying to
social media presence can be different from who they are in person.
not trying to scare anyone, but no, I
Mhm.
agree. When you're traveling to a con, whether you're alone or with a group of friends, just again, be safe.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing up the thing about San Diego Comic Con, because
Of course.
it's just crazy how these big cons are getting so more well known and just a lot of things are happening. But like, be
It's
safe,
terrifying.
stay with friends, and if you can, stay at a hotel that's close to the con.
Yeah, no, it's really important to play it safe. Like everyone thinks it's just the big cons, but it can happen at small cons too.
Mhm.
Definitely look for the signs, get yourself educated with the situation. And look out for your friends too. Like I have gotten worried because sometimes friends have not come back until like literally the next morning. And I'm a chronic worrier, so I always worry that something will happen to them.
Why'd
Um,
you leave me? I thought you were
exactly what that is.
gonna
Okay. Did you get kidnapped? But yeah, take care of yourself, take care of your tribe. We don't want anything like that to
No,
happen to
no, no, no,
anyone.
no, 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 no. That's again really good set of advice, and thank you for bringing up the thing about SDCC.
Absolutely.
And I think that should do it. Again, Bob, Bell, Consul, Flower, and Kat, thank you for coming on to talk about travel and cons and whatnot, and looking forward to doing more of these later down the road.
Of course.
y-
Thanks for having us.
Oh, of course. And you know where you can find me. I now officially have in my bio on YouTube a link to my link tree. So anyone who goes to my YouTube can now find me on my other socials. Now that I figured
Cool.
now I figured how the hell to do that. But yeah. Until next time, as always, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Wait. Until next time, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening, and as always, thank you for watching.